beautiful thing about resistance and about feeling like you're at your lowest is that it gives you the opportunity to dream again. It gives you the opportunity to say, okay, if life was perfect, what would it look like right now? And I started dreaming. I started manifesting. When I was at my lowest, I literally would go to my phone and my notes and I would just write, this is what I want my relationship to feel like. This is what I want my home to feel like. This is what I want my environment to feel like. This is what I want my job to feel like. And I began to attract those things. But those things did not come overnight. It really did take a process. Welcome to my channel. My name is Fatima. If you are new, if you're returning, thank you for coming back. So really quickly, I just want to introduce myself because I realized in the last video I did not. So my name is Fatima. I have this YouTube channel, and in addition to creating content online, I also am a certified mindfulness meditation instructor and a breathwork facilitator. So you'll see a mixture of videos on my channel that will include videos like this, vlogs, and also some meditation content. So hope you stick around. Thank you for being here. So this video is the second part of the Divine Detours series. So let's go ahead and get into 12 signs that it's time for you to reinvent yourself and change your life. So your girl has been through it. You probably can't tell because I'm feeling brand new. Okay, I'm feeling revitalized. But I've been through it this year. It's so crazy because I was sharing my journey and my testimony with someone just yesterday actually. And when I say it out loud, it feels like all of the things that I've been through was like a year ago, but it was all this year. So much of it, so much of what I recently experienced has been all this year. So I've changed jobs, I've moved multiple times, and I've ended a relationship. And I'm not going to go into all the details of those things, but just know that all of those things were a part of me making a decision to transform my life. So I'm going to share with you 12 things, 12 signs that I saw in myself that made me say, okay, hold on, something's got to give. We got to change this up. We got to do something about this because it was just not where it needed to be. So sign number 1 is you are consistently unhappy. I can speak to this completely because that was a key indicator for me. When I realized that months went by, and I was unhappy. It's like I would have bursts of happiness. I would have moments where I would feel really good, but it was like every day I was fighting for my life to feel hopeful, to feel excited about something, to feel good. So I knew that, okay, something has to give because I'm not happy. And generally I would say I'm a pretty happy person. So that's the first sign. The second sign is if you don't like your appearance or if you feel like you are letting yourself go, you're suddenly out of shape. So I'll insert a picture because I finally feel comfortable doing that. But this was around July and I did not notice it at the time. I think I started to notice it probably around like late July, that I had gained so much weight. Like if you look at this picture of July versus today, it's crazy how 20 pounds makes so much of a difference on your body. But I was so uncomfortable in my body. I did not like how I looked. I didn't like how my skin was looking, how my hair was looking. I just was not comfortable in my body anymore. And that had come from months of being stressed, months of being overwhelmed, months of just trying to like keep pushing through in a relationship that I didn't want to be in anymore, a job that I didn't want to be in. Yeah, it was rough and my weight suffered. There was a lot of comfort eating. There was a lot of drinking wine and just alcohol in general, just like going out and drinking. And it was just like a normal thing to do because back to the first point, it gave me some sense of happiness, some sense of joy, right? The third thing I would say is that your career or your job makes you miserable. So my job wasn't making me miserable. I'll say that. Like I wasn't miserable at my job, but it definitely had its moments where interacting with certain people at my job felt very toxic. And I was so depleted with the things that were going on in my life that I didn't even have the capacity to stand up for myself. So I was just letting it happen. I was just kind of like, if I can only fight one battle today, it's not going to be this one because I just don't have it in me. So if you're noticing that like you're not happy in your job, you're not happy in your career, and you haven't been for a while, it's a possibility that it might be time to do something about it. Right. And then the fourth thing is if you just don't feel healthy. So another thing that I can remember very vividly, probably in like June or July, was feeling like I was just like deficient. Like I felt like I was nutrient deficient. I felt like I wasn't getting enough exercise. I felt like my skin was really dry. My nails were really just like not where they needed to be. My hair, and a lot of it I just kind of ruled off as like, oh, well, I'm in California again. The climate is different. So maybe that's why. I don't think that was really why. I think it was a combination of poor lifestyle choices, honestly. And I just didn't feel healthy. Another sign that it may be time for you to transfer your life is if you feel emotionally unstable. So if you are just up and down, or if you notice that you have a really hard time balancing your emotions and reeling your emotions in, and this is not to dismiss like anyone that may have any type of mental illness. That's not really who I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're typically a person that is mentally stable and mentally sound, and suddenly you're noticing, very tearful, I'm very sensitive, or I'm very overwhelmed, and I can't really pinpoint what it is, but I know that like I'm feeling very fragile emotionally. It may be a time to just reconsider what area of your life is out of alignment, right? The next sign is that you lack purpose and direction. So I'll give a very real example. I remember when I was probably like, I would say, honestly, I noticed it at the beginning of this year in like January, like when I moved out of my apartment. I remember feeling just like creatively stagnant. I remember feeling like I don't have it creatively. I don't have it to give, to put out. And I just thought, okay, maybe it's because I'm moving out of my apartment and moving into a new space. And then as life kept happening, right? Life was lifing. It was so many changes happening that it was like, my purpose felt so far away. I felt like I wasn't qualified anymore. I felt like I wasn't able to do the things that God had been calling me to do because life was happening so much that I just kept putting everything off. So I was barely creating content, or if I was, it was like during the period of time where I got assistants to help me with the content. But around like March, April, it was like your girl was just gone. I would just post sporadically if I could, but I was so disconnected from my purpose, from even from leading meditation classes. Like some classes I was obligated to still show up and teach anyway, but it was really difficult for me to do so. That is a clear sign that something is not right. When the thing that you love to do, suddenly it's like, I don't have the motivation to do this thing. The next sign is that you're outgrowing your friend circle. So yeah, that's another part of sometimes when life is lifing and you're going through so many changes. Like, I'm gonna be so honest, I lost so many friends this year because I was going through so much, and emotionally I just didn't have the capacity to show up for people. And I didn't even notice that I wasn't showing up for them. Like, it was something that I didn't notice that I was doing. And I won't say so many friends, but like I have a tight circle. So me losing 2 friends is a lot of friends to me. But like, yeah, like just I can honestly say, like, especially one friend in particular that I'm thinking about, the friendship ended because I was not able to be emotionally available to this person. And in hindsight, I can actually see like, okay, yeah, I wasn't. But in the moment, I think I was so focused on, well, you don't know what I'm going through, you know? So it was like, I didn't actually receive that for real. I think I just kind of like responded. But yeah, that's something to take note of. It's like, are you losing friends? Are friends reaching out to you, you know, feeling like they don't know where they stand in your life because you have been just so consumed with all of the things that are going on in your life? And that's not to say that you can't have moments where it's like that, but I think if it's in a space where you're in a healthy place, you should be able to communicate that. You shouldn't feel so overwhelmed that you can't even communicate. The next sign is that, this is number 8, you are craving connection. This one was a big one for me. Like, I'm talking about a big one. Like, going from living in my own apartment to moving in with my partner, and then us moving to another and trying to figure that whole dynamic out. It was difficult, and I found myself really craving connection at that time. I was craving community, I was craving sisterhood, I was craving friendship, I was homesick. It was like so many things. The next sign is that the things that you used to enjoy don't make you excited anymore. I kind of touched on this with like your purpose and your direction, but this is more so just like hobbies, right? Like if you really used to enjoy like going roller skating, for me, right? Or you really used to enjoy hanging out with friends or going to the beach, like going out for a walk, those things that you used to do just because you enjoyed it, suddenly it's like you don't have the desire, you don't have the energy, you don't have the motivation, you could care less if you do it or not, right? Another sign is that you are coping to avoid facing. Now, I was honest and I mentioned earlier that I did a lot of comfort food eating, okay? I eat a lot of fried foods, I eat a lot of junk food, I drank a lot of wine, and when I went out, I had a lot of cocktails because it was comforting. It was providing me with a sense of relief in the moment. So if you notice that you are coping with what you're feeling and not actually feeling it, then it may be time for you to transform your life. It may be time. Another sign, this is number 11, is if you are avoiding the people who really see you and hold you accountable. Like the people close in my life that I trust, that I would usually go to and say, hey, I'm feeling led to do this thing. Like, can you pray with me? Or what do you think about it? I didn't do any of that. And I didn't do that because I knew that they would hold me accountable. And I knew that they would probably be real with me and be like, hey, that's probably not a good idea. Like you probably shouldn't do that, you know? But I didn't reach out to those people because I knew that there would be a level of accountability and responsibility that I would have had to take. And at that time, I was convinced that God told me a certain thing and I was moving forward with that certain thing. And that's not to say I was wrong, right? Like, let me just interject in here real fast and say that sometimes God is going to tell you to do something that, and I think I said this in the last video, but like sometimes you will be sure that God told you to do something and it does not turn out how you expect. And I can look back over the last year of my life and see that there was a lot of choices that I made. Some of them maybe I shouldn't have made, but other choices that I made, I'm like, yeah, God definitely confirmed that one. And God confirmed it because he needed to detour you. He needed to detour me. He needed to reroute me. And that was the only way that I was going to walk away, was if he did it. So when I look at it in that context, I'm like, okay, it makes sense why all of that had to happen. Now, did I have to get dragged the way I was dragged? I personally don't think so. I feel like God spiritually dragged me by the tiniest strand of my edge, and I just feel like it was very disrespectful. But also, like, God probably felt like I was being very disrespectful in a lot of ways. So the last final tip is if you feel disconnected from God. If you feel disconnected from God, you feel like you can't go to God and pray, you feel like you don't know what to say to God because maybe you're living in sin and your circumstances have caused you to just like completely reject God and ignore God, it's probably a sign that it's time to do something. It's time to transform your life. So if you find yourself here, know that it is a process. It's not a quick fix. You're not going to transform your life like that. If I'm being honest with you all, once I realized that I was physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially drained, depleted, and I had just gotten to the point where it was like, I have to decide for myself what I'm going to do. I ended up ending my relationship, leaving California, and starting a new job, all within like a 2-month period. That was the first part. And then after that, I dedicated all of my time, all of my energy into myself. I made a commitment and said, if I do this, I am completely recentering everything back around me. Like the self-care is going up, the self-maintenance is going up, therapy, exercising. Like I was committed. Like before I left all of those places, I left with a plan. I already had a plan. I already had mapped out what I wanted for my future, what I wanted for my life. I knew that the space that I was in, where I was overweight, where I was tired, where I was struggling financially, where I was not happy in my relationship, I knew that that was not where I wanted to stay. And the beautiful thing about resistance and about feeling like you're at your lowest is that it gives you the opportunity to dream again. It gives you the opportunity to say, okay, if life was perfect, what would it look like right now? And I started dreaming. I started manifesting. When I was at my lowest, I literally would go to my phone and my notes and I would just write, this is what I want my relationship to feel like. This is what I want my home to feel like. This is what I want my environment to feel like. This is what I want my job to feel like. And I began to attract those things. But those things did not come overnight. It really did take a process. Now I'm grateful that God spared me. It didn't take forever now, because it's December, and I now am at the space where every area of my life has done a complete 180. So it also doesn't have to take forever, but that's where discipline comes in. That's where you being committed to you comes in, right? Nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to go to the gym for you. Nobody's going to go to therapy for you. Nobody's going to set that budget and stick to it but you, right? So if you're committed to transforming your life, the next thing you need to do is like write out all of the things that you currently don't like. Write out how you want those things to actually look, and then make a plan and stick to it. I'm going to get more into like the how in future videos, but right now I just wanted to put this out there for anyone that may feel like I need to reinvent myself. I need to change everything that's happening in my life. And I feel really led to pray right now, actually. So I would love to pray for anyone that may be in that space, because trust me when I say, I know how difficult it is, but there is hope on the other side. So if everyone under the sound of my voice will just close their eyes and join me in this prayer. God, we just thank you for every person that clicked on this video. We thank you for every single person that decided that they want to investigate their life and find out how they can transform it, God. We know that all things are possible in your strength. And we know that if we want to get out of our lowest rock bottom point, we can only do it with your support, God. So I ask right now that every person listening to this, if they're at their rock bottom, that you give them the confidence to know that they can transform their life. Give them the confidence to know that they can renew their mind. Give them the confidence to know that their story does not end right here, God. We thank you for divine detours. We thank you for the blessings that are on the other side of this. We thank you for the testimony that is on the other side of this, God. And all these things we pray. Amen and amen. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel, for watching episode 2. I was about to say 4, episode 2 of Divine Detours. I hope you are enjoying it so far, and I would love to hear from you. So drop a comment down below. Let me know if anything resonated, and I will see you in the next video.